Hi, good morning, everyone. Let's see the 1.1 introduction to sales. And in the beginning, we need you to understand what sales theory is. So we have to introduce a sales theory to you. You already know that many years ago, maybe 3,000 or 4,000 years ago, the scientists didn't know what is sale because they don't have microscope. And they even believe that every kind of organisms were composed of an endlessly divisible fluid or of indivisible subunits. But when we invented the microscope, we already conquered all the barriers between we and the small world. So there are three different kinds of scientists that they proposed the cell theory for us. There's Swan, Schletten, and Virtual. So you have to know three of them and check it on internet who they are. Okay, so let's see what they propose the cell theory to us. The first thing is they think that the cell are the smallest possible units of life, and that living organisms are made of cells. That's their basic thought. But actually, here is still lack of a final sentence about cell theory. The the final point is proposed by Virtual. Virtual told us that all cells must arise from other cells. That means no cell can appear from nothing. For example, the ancients always think if you put some old clothes on the corner of your house, and the mice will appear from the old clothes. So it's impossible, you know that, just because the old clothes cannot bear some mice. The mice must be born by some other mice. So okay, let's get back to the cell theory. So you have to memorize the three sentences. The cells are the smallest possible units, and the living organisms are made of the cells. And every single cell must be arisen from other single cell. Okay, so let's see the final part of this page. The cell consists of a cytoplasm enclosed in a plasma membrane. Plasma membrane, we can also call it cell membrane. In plant and animal cell, there is usually a nucleus that contains genes. So let's see the detailed structure in a cell. The first one is a human check cell. The human check cell is inside your mouth. The outside place is the plasma membrane. Plasma membrane is composed of phospholipid. So we always say that the plasma membrane is a phospholipid bilayer. That means we have two layers of phospholipid, and that's the basic structure of the plasma membrane. And the plasma membrane can control what can get into the cell or what thing should have to be moved out of the cell. And the second thing is the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is a fluid, or you can say that's a solution. There are a lot of metabolism reaction occurs inside, but actually there's still a lot of organelles inside the cytoplasm, and each different kind of organelles can do different chemical reaction. For example, just like here, mitochondria. Mitochondria can use oxygen to oxidize the nutrients from the nutrients to produce a lot of energy. The energy will storage in this kind of chemicals, which is called ATP. And they see the nucleus. Nucleus contains a lot of genetic information. All the genetic information are all located on chromosomes. So let's see the next part. Next, moth leaf cell. Moth is a kind of plant which is very simple. And actually, I have to tell you, moth doesn't have leaf. So maybe it's wrong, but it's okay in IB. But actually, when you want to face the AP or SAT2, you have to memorize it. Most doesn't have leaf, but it's okay. It's still kind of plant. Okay, so let's see what's the difference between an animal cell and a plant cell. So you can see here is a cell wall just in on the outside place around the plant cell. And even the plasma membrane is located inside the cell membrane, inside the cell wall. I have to tell you the cell wall is more strong, so that can protect the plant cell to support the plant cell. Once the plant cell doesn't have any cell wall, it will change its shape, and it will maybe in some kind of solution, and the plant cell will break out. Okay, let's get back to plasma membrane. Just as I said, the plasma membrane can control what can get into the cell and what can get out of the cell. And let's see the vacuum. Vacuum is a very big organelle. Actually, it's a storage. It's a storage place for maybe you need to storage some nutrients for the future, or maybe you can't put out waste, so you have to put them into the vacuum. And the vacuum it also has its own membrane. The own membrane can help the vacuum to control what can get in and what have to get out. Okay, see another chloroplast. Chloroplast is green, and this kind of the organelle can do photosynthesis. The photosynthesis can use the carbon dioxide and light energy to produce of glucose for the cell. So let's get back to the animal cell. So you can see here the mitochondria can use the oxygen to oxidize the glucose. And the chloroplast can use the light energy to produce glucose. So maybe you have some question. Once the plant cell need some energy, how can it do? Don't worry, actually, and most plant cells still have a lot of mitochondria, but they are not shown here. So if the plant cell needs energy, it still have ask the mitochondria to oxidize the nutrients to produce a lot of energy. And finally, you can see there is also cytoplasm in the plant cell. Yes, it's still a kind of a solution. A lot of metabolism reaction occurs inside, and there are still a lot of organelles we will introduce in the future. And here is also a nucleus. So I want to teach you more things about the two cells. Just because an animal or a plant, they all have nucleus. So we call this kind of organism eukaryotic cell. What are they? Eukaryotic. Eu means truly. Karyo means nuclear. So eukaryotic cell means the cell really has a nucleus inside. So we call them eukaryotic cell. Okay, on the other hand, once a cell doesn't have any nucleus, what can we call them? They are prokaryotic cell, just like this. For example, just like bacteria, you know that they are prokaryotic cell. That means they don't have any nucleus inside, and they don't even have any membrane enclosed organelles inside. For example, just like vacuum, just like a chloroplast or mitochondria. Every single bacteria doesn't have this kind of organelles. Once the organelles is a membrane enclosed. So let's see the second page. The second page is about the theory. There is still another very special exception to the cell theory. So we have to think about it. Scientific theories can be tested by looking for discrepancies. The discrepancies means some special example that doesn't stick to the rules you already know, that doesn't stick to the theory you already know. The cases that do not fit the theory. There are some tissues and organisms that are not made of a typical cell. We call this kind of cell not made of a typical cell is a typical cells. The first one is skeletal muscle, and the second one is giant algae, and the final one is aspartate fungi. So the first one, skeletal muscle, that's because they are very, very large. They are very, very long. And they contain hundreds of nuclei. And I will introduce detailedly later. And the second one is giant algae. The giant algae is very big, just like this picture, just like this figure. So you can see the scale bar. The scale bar is 20 millimeter and equals to 2 centimeter. So maybe we can think about the total length of the giant algae. It must be 10 centimeter. Once you see an organism is so large, you must think about it. It must be contains a lot of cells, maybe just maybe billion or 2 billion or 3 billions. But actually, you know that even it's as much as 100 millimeter. So we would expect it then to consist of many cells, but actually they only contain one single nucleus. So they are not multicellular. What's multicellular? Multi means many. But actually, once an organism is composed of 2 cells, we also call it multicellular. We will see some example in future about the plants. And the final one is aspartate fungi. Aspartate fungi contains thread-like structures called hyphae. What's hyphae? Hyphae, if you ever try to agriculture the fungi on bread or something else, just like orange, if you put them into the microscope, and you can find a lot of silk-like structure that is hyphae. Okay, actually, these hyphae are not divided into subunits containing a single nucleus. Actually, instead, they are long undivided sections. But I have to tell you, once you use the microscope, you can find it. Actually, the fungi is really composed of a lot of cells, but because they don't have a very, very clear cell wall and the divided section between the 2 cells. So we think the nucleus can move from one cell to another. And we also think maybe the hyphae which contain many nuclei. So despite this and some other discrepancies, there is still a strong overall trend for living organisms to be composed of cells. So the cell theory has not been abandoned. I have to tell you, if you want to learn biology well, you have to accept this kind of, what's that? See the terms here. You have to accept all the discrepancies. So let's see the detailed information about the 3 different kinds of cells. So let's see the first paragraph. To test the cell theory, you should look at the structure as many living organisms as you can, using microscope. Instruction for microscope given on page 4. You have to read your textbook. In each case, you should ask the question: does the organism or tissue fit the trait stated in the cell theory by consisting one or more cells? Actually, there are three typical examples are worth considering. So I have to tell you, it's very easy to come up them in external assessment. So try to memorize them all. The first example is striated muscle. This for example, just like your skeletal muscle or your cardiac muscle. Your cardiac muscle means your heart muscle. Okay, just because the cardiac muscle and the skeletal muscle, they are always has this kind of line. This kind of line you can see on the cells. So we also call them striated muscle. But I have to tell you, striated muscle is not the best answer. Skeletal muscle is better. Skeletal. Is better than cardiac muscle. Why? Why? Just because the only skeletal muscle they is very long and consist of a lot of nuclei. But the cardiac muscle, they are not so long, and each single cell has only one nucleus. So keep in mind, skeletal muscle is better than cardiac muscle. So we can see here, the skeletal muscle is a type of tissue that we use to change the position of our body. So you know that we can see the sentence here. They are surrounded by a membrane and are formed by division of pre-existing cells. They have their own genetic materials and their own energy release system. That means they have a lot of mitochondria. However, muscle fibers are far from typical. They are much larger than most animal cells. In humans, they have average length about 30 millimeters and even longer. And where other human cells are mostly less than 0.03 millimeter in length. Instead of having one nucleus, they have many, sometimes as many as several hundred. So let's see, the second one is a fungi. Fungi consist of narrow thread-like structure called hyphae or hyphae. The hyphae are usually white in color and have a fluffy appearance. They have a cell membrane and outside it a cell wall. Of course, a plant cell, a fungi cell, even a bacterial cell, they all have a cell wall. Except us, we are animal. Only animal cell doesn't have cell wall. In some types of fungi, the hyphae are divided up into small cell-like sections by close wall called septa. But actually, the septa is not a fully divided structure. Actually, so they still can make them cytoplasm through from one cell to another cell. But actually, the hole is not big enough for nucleus. However, in a septate fungi, there are no septa. That means they don't really have a wall between two cells. So each hyphae is an uninterrupted tube-like structure with many nuclei spread along it. That means the cell can move from here to another place, just like a figure. I think here, this, they are all nucleus, maybe, but you have to know, not every kind of fungi are this kind of cell, have this kind of spate hyphae. And the final is giant algae. Algae is a kind of organisms that feed themselves by photosynthesis and store their genes inside nuclei. But they are simpler in their structure and organization than plants. Yes, because some of algae is the ancestor of the plant's kingdom. Many algae consist of one microscope cell. There are vast numbers of these unicellular algae in the ocean, and they form the basis of most marine food chain. But less common are some algae that grow to a much larger size. Wow. Actually, most algae are only single cell, but some of them can be very, very big, very, very large, but they still seem to be a single cells. For example, just like this one. And we have to know its specific name. Here, just like the page you already read here. No, not here. Okay, here. You have to just have some image, but you don't have to know how to spell it. So let's get back here. Once you can see a big organism, you must think it must be consist of a billion or 2 billion cells, not only one cells. But here is a special example. So this kind of giant algae can grow to a length as much as 100 millimeters, despite only having one nucleus. Only one nucleus is very special, because you already learned about it. Once the cell is too big, you will not have enough surface area to exchange what it needs or what it doesn't want. So but here I think the sentence is most important. If a new organism with the length of 100 millimeters was discovered, we should certainly expect it to consist of many cells, not just one. Yes, because we know that the surface area is very important. Okay, let's see the final part of this video. The video final part is teach you how to draw in biology. So you have to see the terms draw. The command term draw is defined by IB as represent by means of a labeled accurate diagram or graph using a pencil, okay? A ruler, straight edge should be used for straight lines. Diagrams should be shown to scale. Okay, so you have to fit all the command wants you to do. So first thing is you have to prepare a sharp pencil when you face the midterm examination. Here is the 2H. The sharp pencil with the hard lead should be used. These arrows clear, sharp single lines to be drawn in exams. Diagram should not drawn fatally, as they will not shown clearly in scans. You know that the teacher will not get your papers. What we get is your scan, because the teacher who will mark your papers around the earth. We have to give them the email, give them the file to be marked. And here you know that you don't have this should be no gaps, overlaps, or multiple lines. Just because you know that the cell membrane or the nuclear envelope, they are very close structures. There are no hole on the cell membrane, no hole on the nuclear envelope. So here it's not okay. Just because once you want to draw a cell, the cytoplasm will leak from the cell membrane. It's not good. And actually, it's impossible for a cell membrane to form this kind of structure. And then labeling can be in ink or pencil, with labeling lines rather than arrows. Labeling lines should be drawn using a ruler, or they should point preciously to the structure being labeled. For example, just like this, left one is so bad. Just because, does you ever seen the cell just like this kind of a square? No, it's impossible. And here, once you want to label a structure, you can't use a curved line. It's not okay. But here is a better figure, just because it draw a true structure or shape of a cell, and it try to level a cell name with the ruler, so it's a better one. So today you can see here is my first video recorded for you, and I think I re-recorded several times, man, and sometimes I even forget to turn on my record. So I believe I will do better, and I believe you can do better in your external assessment. And if you don't think my pronunciation is good, we can change our information, and I wish I can do my better. See you next time.